Welcome to Sowing back, and this is my front garden, side garden area. This was like my original garden before we acquired the other land where we were able to clear the trees to build the backyard garden because we actually had sunlight. This used to be this in my front yard. Um, and I have inside there, I actually have, I'm sorry, I was admiring some of the butterflies on the zinnias and the lantana. My lantana is really taken off with all this heat. But I I typically with my elderberries, I do a large blossom bag over the whole canopy of bloom, and I've gotten those off Amazon. I have a bunch of them. I packed them up last year and I don't know where I put them. So this year I'm doing a different method and it's working for me. And I'm just going, when I see the ripe berries, I'm going and I'm clipping them. And when I get them, I put them in either a freezer bag or a reusable freezer bag. And I just freeze them until I have enough that when they're frozen, they're easier to deal with when they're frozen, to get them off of the branch and the little branches and stuff like that, so you don't smash all of them and get it all over you. It's a little bit less messy if they are frozen. And then at that point, I either use them to make elderberry syrup, which you can take them from frozen or fresh, because you're going to have a cooking process. You can make elderberry syrup. Um, so that's one thing. If you're going to make a tincture, though, you need to use dried elderberry. And so the other ones I would stick in my food dehydrator and dehydrate those for a long shelf life. And so I still have a good bit dehydrated from last year. I've already dehydrated some of last year's that were left, the last little batch that was left in the freezer. The other thing I like to do to them too, if I have a real big abundance in there in the freezer, sometimes I'll go take some out to my chickens. They're really good for your chickens. They have a lot of great properties for them to have good health. And matter of fact, a lot of people actually recommend planting elderberry around your chicken coops and things like that, to allow your chickens just to munch on them as they please. So anyway, they are right over here, inside here. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna get some of the berries, and then we're gonna head over to the other opposite side yard. We have a shared fig tree with my neighbor. My last neighbor planted it, and a large part of it comes over onto our property. But the roots are actually on the neighbor's property, but they let us get all we want because they don't really like figs, and we typically pick on our side though. But I have some figs that are ready that I want to pick, because I really want to do a fig preserve without like any pectin or anything, that I can just put on my yogurt. Just like I don't want to do a big batch. This is going to be something I just want to put in the fridge and be able to eat on over the next few weeks with my Greek yogurt, and it's really yummy. And so while I can get some before the birds and the bees take over all of the figs, because our other fig trees did not produce, they took a big hit in last Christmas deep freeze that we had for about a week, and they have rebounded beautifully, but we just didn't get any fruit this year. So which is fine, we want it to rebound. But the turkey fig is so well established, and they're just so hardy. We didn't think we were going to get a great crop per se. It's been pretty good. They're not as big as they normally are, but they're really tasty. So we've been fresh eating them for the last couple weeks. So I'm going to try to do that before the storms come in, and then I'm going to try to head out to the back garden and get some. I've got a few of these seed tape. I've got bunching onions. I have some lettuce. I have some beets and carrots, and I actually brought out rutabagas because I'm going to try to direct sow some, since I have like one of all the ones I planted. There's one left, and I don't even know it's doing great. So I'm just going to try to direct sow in that one bed. We have a lot of rain coming in, which is really good for the carrots to germinate and things like that. So I thought I'd bring you along on that. It's warm today, but it's nothing like it's been. It's pretty good. And we have storm's coming in about the next 90 minutes or so. So I want to get this done. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so let me show you what I've gotten. So this is what one looks like that still has berries on it. There are a couple little green ones. You just don't use those. But if you don't pick them when they're like that, they're going to be like this. This has 2 berries on it. And the birds devoured it. So you're not going to have a lot of benefit if you wait. That's what it looks like if you wait, okay? So I've got 1 that I clipped, and these are all from propagated elderberries that I've done. 2. Look at that one, that's beautiful. 3, 4, and that's a big one, 5. So I got 5 good size bunches of elderberries. This is probably to make like a pint of elderberry syrup. It might make a quart. I'd have to look back at my recipe. Literally, you only need about 2/3 cup of fresh elderberry and to make your own elderberry syrup. So keep that in mind. This was off of 1 propagated plant. And so, and you have to understand, elderberry can get up to about 12 foot tall, 10 to 12 foot tall. And after the 2nd year of growing, you cut them waist high. And I promise you, before the end of the season, they're going to be 10, 12 feet again. And so, and they'll probably put on more shoots. You can take everything that you clip off, you can root it, and you can propagate it and make more elderberry plants. And so this one back here is a propagation I did. This one wasn't this year, this one was last year propagation. And most of all my other last year propagations I gave to friends, and they're growing in their yards so they can have their own elderberries. Sorry, I'm getting eat up. All right, so now we're going to head over to our figs, and I will show you what I'll show you my elderberries, my original plants, another propagation area we have, and in the propagation area I've already been snipping off the elderberries when they're ripe and they're flowering again. So I'm going to show you what those look like. We're going to go get some figs. Okay guys, so these are propagated elderberries. We also have some propagation figs in there in that bed that we put there. This one was just waist high at the beginning of spring, and this is how much it's grown. I have been harvesting off of this, and you can see the white flowering. That is what I'm talking about. You can harvest that, dry the flowers, and you can put it with your tea. You can put it with any kind of tea, black tea, green tea, white tea, and you know, you would just, once it's dry, and then you would just steep it with your tea and enjoy it. I love elderflower tea I prefer it with like a white tea myself. I've had it with green tea. That one's not my favorite. It's got a kind of a different flavor profile, but it's not bad. It's just not my favorite. So this is, like I said, these were propagated. These were about waist high back in, I guess, March. So let me show you my originals. All right, guys. So these are my 3 originals, and they can have a lot of green berries on them. I normally would have blossom bags on here, but I've just been harvesting, and I actually see a few of them starting to flower again, and that's because up there I haven't harvested. That's what the birds eat. Matter of fact, before I moved over here, there were a ton of birds in here. So they typically won't eat them until they turn. When they turn, they're drawn to it and they want to eat them. And like I said, they're very good for them. So these were cut waist high. And so they were about 3 foot. And look at them now. And so we'll cut them down again, and we cut them down at the end of every February, waist high, and they grow back like this every year and produce elderberries. And like I said, you can take those cuttings and you can make more elderberry propagations. Figs, you want to not clip them until your fig will kind of be like this, and when it starts to curve, those are the figs you want to clip. Those are going to be your ripe figs. If you let them go all the way over, usually by then they're going to have pest damage. They're going to have ants and or wasp. Wasps love these. So if you have any kind of allergies to those things, you might want to wear gloves. Just in case, because you could get a sting, particularly when you're going around. Some people, the leaves may irritate their skin, so again, you may want garden gloves. I'm kind of, I guess, becoming immune to it, so it doesn't really bother me. It does get a little sticky, so. All right, guys, so that's what I got. That's a good 2 cups worth. It may be 3, and this is what I'm saying. They're so much smaller this year, but I mean, they're usually bigger. They're probably about this plus another half is the normal size we get, but they taste really good. They're really sweet. And so yes, so we're gonna drop these off inside, and we're gonna head in the backyard and get some carrots and stuff planted up. So guys, the pumpkin trellis worked. And a lot of them are starting to turn. They're not quite there yet. They're getting really close, but this little area right here is just brings so much sanctuary because you get shade. And I had planted some rattlesnake green beans in here, and they are in here, and they're starting to go up and getting intertwined with all of this. So, and there's new pumpkins coming out down here. So I figure we're gonna have these Cherokee tan pumpkins putting on until our first frost, whenever that decides to happen. So this is my basil, and it's so far gone I can't keep it from going to seed at this point, and I'm not going to stop it. I'm just going to let it and the other one in this bed, because if you can see there, all the beautiful bee action I'm getting, they love it. And so yeah, I'm happy. There's another one over there. It's not as far gone, and then I've got tomatoes that need to get pulled out of here, but these I'm going to leave. And with the basil, I need to look at like what kind of fall stuff I could companion plant with it. Look at all those bees. That's just beautiful. Those are all like my volunteer bees. And so yeah, so I've got to figure out what would be okay that I could plant once I get the tomatoes out. Even the pepper in here is dying. I do have eggplant, but it's getting diseased too, so I can pull all those things out, and then I'll have to decide what is it that I want to replace. I may end up doing onions in here, which the basil won't be a big deal, because this will probably flower until the first frost if I let it, and I'll probably let it. It's good for my pollinators. It gives them something, and it keeps them happy, and I'm all about that. And those are my sweet potatoes, y'all. I still have a good month before we harvest. But yeah, and then it's the rest of the back area. Last thing we're going to do is I'm going to direct sow some rutabagas in that center. So I've gotten 2 rows of carrots, I've done 1 row of beets, and 1 row of bunching onions. And then I'm going to do the rutabagas down the center because I've already got 1 growing, so I'm going to try to do some of those. And then I'm going to turn on my hose. It's fixing to rain, but I want to go ahead, and the soil is pretty warm, so I want to go ahead and cool it down with my hose. And then I have a bag of compost, and I think I'm going to sprinkle some on top and then allow the rain to do the rest. And so that's kind of what I wanted to show you here in the garden. And I hope that you're considering getting some stuff in the ground for the fall. That's when really great vegetables grow. Most of the stuff we harvest in spring and summer, well, some in spring we get real vegetables before it heats up, but they're the fruits. They're the tomatoes and the beans. Those are actually fruits because they have seeds. But our true vegetables, our leafy greens, our broccoli, all of the brassicas, the cabbages, Brussels sprouts, kale, any of those things, all of those are going to be fall. Depending on where you live, you might be able to get some in winter and early spring. And so you want to get some of those in. It's okay to start tearing out diseased looking summer plants so you have a space for them. There's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, hopefully you've already gotten your fill of tomatoes. You're ready for something different.